In this video, we're talking about marijuana crimes under Arizona law. The law is 13-3405. You can see it right there. It defines 4 different types of activities that are crimes if they involve marijuana. We're going to run through what they are, we're going to run through what they mean, and we're going to run through the different classifications of felonies that they are. So as a reminder, Arizona, we have different classifications of felonies. Class 2 is at the very top, so think of that as the worst level felony that you can have. We go down to a Class 6, which is the lowest level felony that we have. So we have 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, from top being the worst down to a 6 being the least serious. It's still a felony, which means it's still very serious, but it's the lowest level felony that we have. So under 13-3405, the Arizona marijuana law says that there's 4 different types of activity that are prohibited if they involve marijuana. The first is possession or use. So this is if you have possession of marijuana for your own personal use. If you're using marijuana, if you have it in your person, it is a felony. If you have it for sale, that's another type of felony. So if you have a quantity of marijuana and it's intended to be sold, if there's indicia for sale, meaning there's some evidence that you are going to be selling this, or if you are caught in the act of selling it, that is marijuana for sale. Selling marijuana is also a felony. It's also illegal without permission to produce marijuana. So this is all saying that you're not within the Medical Marijuana Act. This is all outside of the Medical Marijuana Act. But if you're producing marijuana, that's also illegal. So if you're growing marijuana, if you are cultivating it in your home or at some other location, that is also a felony. And finally, if you're transporting marijuana for sale, if you're importing marijuana into the state of Arizona, that is also a felony. So let's take a look at the different classifications of them. So what level of the felony are they? If you have it for your own personal possession or for use and you have less than 2 pounds of marijuana, it's a Class 6 felony. So that's the low level. If you have at least 2 pounds, but more than 2 pounds, or at least 2 pounds, but less than 4 pounds, it bumps it up from a Class 6 to a Class 5 felony. And if you have more than 4 pounds, it makes it a Class 4 felony. So 4 pounds or more, it's a Class 4. So you can see it goes from a 6 to a 5 to a 4, depending on the weight, depending on the amount of marijuana in your possession. It's going to detail what classification of felony it is. If you have this for sale, the charges, the different classifications of felonies bump up a little bit. So if you have less than 2 pounds, it's a Class 4. Remember up here it was a Class 6. If you have it for sale, it makes it a Class 4, even if you have less than 2 pounds. So it doesn't matter how much less. Any amount less than 2 pounds, if it's for sale, it's a Class 4 felony. If you have at least 2 pounds, but less than 4 pounds, so essentially more than 2 pounds, but less than 4, it makes it a Class 3 felony. And if you have more than 4 pounds, it makes it a Class 2 felony. So Class 2 felony, like I said, it's the highest level felony that you have. So if you have a large quantity of marijuana and it's for sale, that's going to be a Class 2 felony. Let's go on to the next one. If you're producing marijuana, so if you're cultivating it, you're growing it in your home, growing it at some facility, and it's less than 2 pounds, that's a Class 5 felony. So it's one level up above a 6. It's a Class 5. If you have at least 2 pounds, but less than 4 pounds, so again, between 2 and 4 pounds, it's a Class 4 felony. And if you have more than 4 pounds, it's a Class 3 felony. So not quite as high as the for sale, which is a Class 2, but it still is a Class 3, so it's significantly up there. Finally, transportation. So we have less rules for the transportation or the importation of marijuana for sale. If you have less than 2 pounds, it's a Class 3. If you have more than 2 pounds, that's a Class 2. So you can see there's no middle ground like we saw in possession or for sale or the production, where there's that in-between kind of level between 2 pounds and 4 pounds. It's just less than 2 or more than 2. And if you're transporting it for sale, you're importing it for sale, you can see here that they're both very high level felonies. So this is the overview of the statute. You can look this up. Again, you can Google Arizona Revised Statutes 13-3405. Take a look at the marijuana laws. This is how it works. If you've been charged with a marijuana violation, any one of these, and you want to speak to our team about what some of the best offenses are, how we can put together a strategy to make sure that we are successful in your case, give us a call. We offer free case evaluations. Look forward to speaking with you. Thanks for watching.